We all know Italy, right? You know, pizza, that's vaguely Italian. The mafia, that's sometimes Italian. How do you come up with something truly Italian? Something, ah, talking with your hands. God, the background noise is going to be so bad on this. There are lots of Italian stereotypes in America. Being loud, being devoutly Catholic. But I don't think that there's any more present a stereotype, at least for Italians in America, than talking with your hands. If you see anything with Italians in it, The Godfather, The Sopranos,
How about that prick's face when he saw the gat?
there are probably Italians talking with their hands. You'll see it everywhere. Mussolini's speeches, modern Italian politics. Why?
Prima parte. Gesticolazione.
The exact origins of Italian gesticulation are still historically debated. But I think if you look at any ancient statue, it's obvious. Augustus is famously seen with his arms stretching out. Cicero, in any statue of himself, is orating with movement. Gesticulation was probably a very common and normal part of life in the ancient Italic world. It's known as chironomia, which is also seen in classical Greece, used to great effect, like I said, in oration. Many of these signals, or gestures, had meanings behind them, because ancient Latin was quite annoying to actually speak. And aside from the meanings behind hand signals, they also have good effects if you're trying to emphasize. Think about Cicero doing a speech where he's just going,
When, oh Caroline, do you mean to cease
and then imagine Cicero having a speech where he's going,
When, oh Catiline, do you mean to cease abusing
I mentioned it before, but the relationship between ancient chironomia and modern Italian gesticulation is still hotly debated. However, I think it makes sense. These gestures probably became more common in late antiquity, when Italy and various parts of the Roman Empire were occupied by Germanic, French, and Arab peoples. French and to communicate to people who otherwise wouldn't speak the same language. Skipping ahead a bit, this practice was far less common as the Middle Ages progressed. And during the Renaissance, it really picked up again. You can imagine two Italian merchants in the middle of Venice going, in the Renaissance, literally rebirth, large cities became incredibly common, especially in Italy. Italian culture saw a massive vitalization, with lots of old practices coming back, harkening back to the whimsical Roman times when they'd feed prisoners to lions. This tradition extends to modern-day Italy, where Italian politicians argue over conquering Albania, or the modern gesticulation seemed to appear more as cities became larger and more modern, as it is still seen more commonly in cities. Italians definitely talk with their hands. It's just a thing that they do. And the gestures mean things. Let me run through a couple of my favorites.
I miei gesti preferiti.
The umbrella, known by many different names, is the gesture that looks like this. It's an interjection type idea that shows quick, extreme contempt, similar to the modern day, fuck you. I'm sure you know the okay gesture. There's the please do me a favor, which is something like this. The che vuoi, the che vuoi, meaning roughly what do you need or what do you want, extremely famous. And my absolute favorite, delicious. Let's talk about stereotypes.
Seconda parte. Stereotipi.
Why are Italians so well known for this? It's just a different way that some Southern Europeans communicate. To many English speakers, this looks silly. It looks very silly, but it really isn't silly. You're just not used to it. I think most Americans, like basic white Americans, have just basic ethnic xenophobia. Italians are white, but as far as white people in America go, they have it pretty rough, especially historically, where in the late 19th and early 20th century, in the late 1800s and early 1900s, many Italian Americans faced serious discrimination. Historically, this represented itself as anti-mafia, anti-Catholic, or just xenophobia. That's why Columbus Day exists. Italian Americans wanted something to celebrate. They wanted to feel American. Some Italian Americans insist they aren't white, or get violently defensive of Columbus.
He discovered America is what he did. He was a brave Italian explorer, and in this house, Christopher Columbus is a hero. End of story.
So, why do stereotypes like this exist? Like Italian people talking with their hands. Stereotypes typically exist for cognitive ease, to make interactions with groups you might not necessarily know. So you don't have to know how to interact with every single individual person on Earth, but you can know general things about some certain groups. It's the same reason that pronouns exist, so you don't have to say a proper name every single time you reference somebody or something. But stereotypes aren't always correct. It's what happens when that cognitive ease gets overstretched. Some Asian countries have tests that are rigorously studied for, becomes all Asians study a lot, to all Asians are smart. Which, do you see what's happened there? Instead of Asian people, you're saying Asians. Do you notice what I just did? I gestured with my hands to signify that what I was saying was not my exact words. And you didn't find it weird at all. Many stereotypes can start off as things that make it easier to interact with certain groups, like not to offer pork to a Jewish person or suspicious drinks to a Mormon. These can be useful for basic interactions, but not all Jews don't eat pork. That's the basic issue. It's not necessarily the stereotype existing, although many are outwardly harmful. It's the fact that that becomes overgeneralized. Can these noises stop? It's when the generalization starts to imply individual things about individuals in that group. When medieval monetary laws restrict Christians from usury, so oppressed Jewish merchants start money lending. And then you have stereotypes about greedy Jews. Stereotypes aren't good. Their cognitive ease is almost always completely overshadowed by their blatant harmfulness or generalization. Like I have mentioned, not all stereotypes are by default harmful, but a lot are. I just don't want to say them. That felt a little disingenuous. I just mentioned some pretty harmful stereotypes, and I think I should clarify. Stereotypes are not by default good or not harmful. Most of the time, the abstractions I mentioned before are because of hatred of a group or bigotry. Don't stereotype people, but don't assume something is ill-intentioned because it mentions or uses stereotypes. While many stereotypes start off in a place for cognitive ease, they oftentimes also start off out of a place of bigotry or hatred. So, don't be racist. Stereotypes overshadow the complex beauty of the world. There are beautiful contradictions and beautiful practices that seem strange to others, that can't be understood by a simple rule. Coming out of the Renaissance, big empires like France, Britain, or Spain just became more important than the mostly fragmented Italy. Oh God, Italy, what have they done to you? Wait, did Germany do this to you? These Western European powers still hold the predominant cultural and political hold on the world, and their ideas are more common, especially in a mostly European place like America. To members of these groups or people from these places, other practices, foreign practices, might seem strange, odd, or barbaric. Italian gesticulation isn't barbaric or uncivilized or angry. It's just a different way that some people communicate. Italian culture is beautiful. Their food is magnificent. And Italy is just great, to be honest. Italy isn't its hand gestures or stereotypes or generalizations. Italy is Italy, with all the complexity and political issues that might plague it, filled with all the complex historical curiosities and interesting practices that it is. So look at your culture from the outside. Look at some of your strange practices and silly things you do before you laugh at someone doing this. Because I promise you, you are far more silly. This might be the quickest turnaround I've ever done for a video. It's been like 17 days since I filmed, and it's done now. I didn't intend for this to be on Columbus Day, but it is, which is very snazzy and cool, and makes me look like I plan really well. Drop a subscribe in the like box or a comment in the subscription arena. Thanks to Peter and Yusuf for the new outro bits at the end, and have a great day.
Go like and subscribe.
Like and subscribe.
Like and subscribe.